Hi, this is Chico Resch. You are listening to the Let's Go Devils podcast on the Primetime Radio Network.
Happy Devils Saturday to all those watching via the Primetime Radio studios on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter Live, and all the other places you can catch the Let's Go Devils podcast. We are here on Game Day Live as the New Jersey Devils are set to take on the Washington Capitals over there at Capital One Arena in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. And as you might have noticed by looking at the screen, Sam Wu's not here today. He's feeling a little under the weather, so we have a very special replacement for him on screen. I think I said that exact same replacement word last week, and we had the same old joke about it. You can never replace Sam Wu. But, of course, I'm talking about Beer Baron, host of the Sunday night edition Let's Go Devils podcast. Beer Baron, how we doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. I'm excited for the game today. I got to tell you, even if they win or lose, and I hate to be one of these people because I hate to say like win or lose, but even win or lose, this team has been very exciting lately. So I'm looking forward to a good, solid game, and I'm hoping that they come out flying and give the Capitals all they can handle.
Absolutely. The Devils have been exciting lately, but before we get into the meat and potatoes of the game, is this our first time ever on screen together? Vinnie, Parise, and Beer Baron?
No, we've done a few. Sam and I were talking about this before the show. Yeah. In fact, the last time that you and I were on screen together, we were on screen, I think it was opening day, and we were at Taj, and then the computer got knocked out.
That's right. We got robbed of glory that night. Absolute glory. The 3-2, or I think it was either 3-2 or 4-3. Jack Hughes in overtime over the Chicago Blackhawks. That was a good time.
What a game.
And speaking of Jack Hughes, Beer Baron. Yeah, exactly. And speaking of Jack Hughes, you brought up how the New Jersey Devils are like one of these exciting teams. Win or lose lately, they've just been fun to watch. There's clearly some signs of growth in the last 2 months, basically since the All-Star break, for me at least. What do you think of number 86's game? I mean, he's got to be extremely fun for everyone to watch as far as I'm concerned.
Right now, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, I think he's like 1.14 points per game at this point, right? Something around that area. Yep. So he went from being this, I think in his own words, people were calling him a pretty boy hockey player, and not really much thinking about him as like a number one overall pick and saying that he was overrated or saying he was a bust. There's a lot of people from across the river that were saying that they got the right pick and we got the wrong pick. I think what he's done is he started growing last season, and this season he came in a man on a mission. And if he didn't get hurt in the beginning of the year, I wonder if the Devils are in a little bit of a different position right now, playoff-wise, maybe even getting close. I don't want to say like chasing down that last spot, but maybe even getting close where they might be flirting with it. But he has had a season that I hope is to show who he is and what he's going to bring for the rest of his career, because he is an elite player. And and if anybody doesn't believe it, some of the plays that he's making out there, that backhand goal that he had against the Rangers, that kind of explanation point that he had against the Rangers the other night. I mean, look at where he scored that goal from. Look at where he put the puck in the net. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful shot. So I hope this year, even though it's kind of a lost year, is his coming out party. And then next year, you're going to see like lights out with Jack Hughes.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. You got to often wonder when you're watching this season. He missed a good chunk of the beginning part of the year with his little injury that he sustained in the second game of the year against the Seattle Kraken. If they got halfway decent goaltending in a full year of Jack Hughes, where would he be in the Hart Trophy conversation? I'm not sure they'd make the playoffs, but would they be like where Columbus is? 8 or 9 points out of the playoffs instead of 25 points out of the playoffs or whatever it is right now. I think they'd be up there. And Jack Hughes, he'd be leading the way. I believe someone told me he is .09 points per game behind Taylor Hall was in his Hart Trophy season for the Devils, which is just absolute banana land for me. So crazy. Really, would he be – yeah, exactly. Would he be in that mix with McDavid and Draisaitl? I consider Igor Shesterkin. I know we don't like praising Ranger players. That's no fun. But, he's got to be in the Hart Trophy conversation. All those guys, Austin Matthews. Jack Hughes would probably be in there if he was dragging the Devils into the playoffs or at least into making the end of the season interesting. That's not this year. But with the way things are going into next year, I think it's going to be exciting times around the Prudential Center going forward.
Yeah, and there's something that's interesting too, because it's not just been his play that's really taken a big swing up. It's Jasper Bratt has been out of this world. And I mean, you often see online, who's the most underrated NHL player right now. And I think Jasper Bratt could fit right into that, top 5 conversation, because his game is taken off. And it almost looks like you could put him on any line and he finds a way to fit in. He finds a way to, highlight the other guys and really bring the best out of them as well. And has been a very pivotal piece to the offensive side of the Devils game this year. Nico has been playing, incredibly this year. So you have 3 or 4 of the corner pieces of this team that are actually taking huge steps. So a lot of people are like, oh, the Devils, I'm done with them. Like, I'm tired of them losing and this sucks and blah, blah, blah. And they go on these rants. And I'm like, yeah, I understand. Like, none of us like to watch them lose. But if you're looking at the core development, it is trajectory. The trajectory is going in the right direction. And you can see, like, there's a lot of good things that are happening. Even Sharon Govich is having a sneaky good season, because he started off horrible. Couldn't buy a goal if he walked on the ice with a bag of money. But he is now having a pretty decent season and approaching like the mid-teens in goals scored. So I think, how many goals did he have? Like 12 or 14
16.
or
He
something
just
like
scored
that?
his 16th of the season.
16. So he's actually approaching 20. Yeah, and Dawson Mercer. There you go. There's another one. Yeah, and I mean, like, and that just shows like the progression of the team is going in the right direction. Goaltending, not so much. Defensively, there is so many. Losing Dougie for a huge chunk of the season, I don't think was any benefit to any of the defensemen. But there's a lot of upside to this team.
Absolutely. You bring up Bratt. One of the things, I think I tweeted this a couple weeks ago, Jesper Bratt can play with Hischier or Hughes. We've yet to see a Devils forward besides Hall able to play with either of them. Hall's not here anymore, breaking news. So Bratt's ability to play with both Hischier and Hughes, that kind of makes him extra valuable to me. That's why when I heard, I think it was Daily Faceoff talk about trading him, I was like, you can't trade Jesper Bratt. You can play. You have 2 franchise centers that you drafted first overall in 2 out of 3 years. You got to have a winger who can play with both of them, but depending on situations in the game, if it's a defensive style game, you're playing the Rangers and it's tight checking, you put him with Nico. You're playing against the Toronto Maple Leafs and it's Austin Matthews and Jack Hughes trading chances every 5 minutes, then you probably want him with Hughes. So, there are just so many different ways you could use Jesper Bratt. He's big. He could be kind of a pest sometimes. He likes to annoy people. He's hard to move in front of the net. If he's got a guy on his line who could win 50-50 battles down low, that helps him out tremendously. He could do that. So I'm with you. Jesper Bratt is equally as important as any forward we've seen on the team this year. And you brought up Sharon Govich. Sharon Govich, you said it. He got off to a terrible start. He was brutal.
Oh, yeah.
Part of the reason the Devils, couldn't reach their full potential this season. But then once, Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, they started to click a little bit. Sharon Govich as well. We know that we need the centers to drive the lines. It's nice when the top players drive offense. But when a sniper like Sharon Govich has a guy like that, finding him in high danger areas, he's going to score goals, as we've seen in the last couple of weeks. So I'm excited about what he can do for this team.
Yeah, I agree. And then, another thing too is there's Dawson Mercer's having a hell of a season. I mean, there's a lot of kids that are probably going to win the Calder way over him. But I got to say, in a kind of off year, he has shown that he could be in that that conversation for the Calder Trophy or for the Rookie of the Year. And to be honest with you, it's going to be exciting to see Holtz come up. It's going to be exciting to see some of these other pieces come up. But at the same time, and this is something that Scotty and I were talking about, do you really want to start? Because I know they brought Ball up, and I know I'm kind of jumping around here, but they brought Ball up. Do you think they bring up anybody else or just leave Utica the way they are and let them kind of go on their run and let them do their thing? And it's like, you know what? You guys can have your experience next year. Right now, it's more important for you to get playoff experience, to get into these, these high, leverage games and things like that, instead of coming up to the big club and, getting beaten up on by some of these, larger teams like the Capitals or something like that.
100%. I would leave Utica alone. I know you called up Ball. They'll send him back down. He was on AHL roster at the deadline or whatever. I think there was a deadline where if you were on an AHL roster, you were eligible to play for them in the Calder Cup playoffs. I think Ball is eligible, even though he came up, but I would let them go try to get some experience. I want to see Alexander Holtz play, in good games, high leverage games like the Stanley Cup playoffs or the Calder Cup playoffs. Sorry. So I agree with you. And then you got guys in college who are really stepping up. There's Miles Wood hasn't played this season. We haven't seen Thompson at all this season. So if Luke Hughes comes up, it might not be next year, but if Luke Hughes comes up in 2 years and he's joining a pretty good defense with Graves, Hamilton, Severson, maybe one of these other guys come out of nowhere. Maybe Ball just starts to all of a sudden be really good. Maybe Riley Walsh really steps in and surprises everyone one day. Those are all things that could happen. So keep building, find a solid goaltender, and you'll figure it out.
Yeah, but that's the coup de grace, right? The find a solid goaltender. Dawes looks like he could possibly be the next goaltender that could slide into that, but I don't think he's ready to be a true number one, right? He would be a good tandem like 1A, 1B with somebody else. But the question is, Mackenzie Blackwood doesn't look like he's happy, right? He's hired a new agent. There's been rumors that he's very upset with the upper echelon of the team and doesn't like the direction that they were trying to put him into. They making him play when he's hurt and all these other things. So I hate to say it, but the writing might be on the wall that his time might be either coming to an end unless they can kind of come to an agreement and just be like, okay, whatever, and fix the relationship. But if it's not Mackenzie Blackwood and Bernier, who knows what's going to happen with that, because the hip injury, that we saw what happened to Corey Schneider after he had a hip injury. So what do you think that the Devils could do this offseason to bring in a good goaltender? Like, is there anybody out there that you think that they could bring in, is basically what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not sure that yeah, exactly. But, you explained it well. I'm not sure about Mackenzie Blackwood's future. The guys in the NHL have mended relationships with teams and figured out ways to let bygones be bygones, and for the betterment of the team, stick around and help them win. You saw it in Boston with Jake DeBrusk. Everyone thought he was getting shipped out of town after he, requested a trade, and he's been sweet with them. He's been scoring goals, playing good defense, and now he's going to be their forward that instead of trading him, he was their trade deadline acquisition as far as Bruins fans are concerned. Could that be the case with Mackenzie Blackwood? It's possible. It's certainly possible. Yeah. But is someone like Marc-Andre Fleury an option? I know that but trading or signing guys in the offseason that – go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, didn't he say he wouldn't come to New Jersey, though?
Marc-Andre Fleury?
Last year when Chicago signed him, wasn't that one of the things like supposedly like we knocked on the door and he said no thanks or something like that?
Yeah, I think he did have like a certain group of teams that he would go play for, but does Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, Jesper Bratt, Dougie Hamilton, does all of that improvement make him change his mind? It's possible, I would say.
That's possible.
But there are also guys Braden Holtby, I think, is an option. There are a plethora of other people. There are people in Vancouver that think Thatcher Demko is going to be sent out of town in favor of DiPietro, the kid. So there are plenty of ways that the Devils can shore up the goaltending and, have that person play with Nico Dawes. So either way, I think there's a chance that the Devils find somebody out there who could come over and be somebody who is a 1A, 1B with Dawes. There's, maybe Cam Talbot is no longer happy with Minnesota after what they did this season, trading for Fleury. Maybe he says, I'm going to go to a team where I know for a fact I'm the number one and they're not going to trade for anybody. Or, a free agent goalie. I'm not too certain on the entire free agent list of the summer. I haven't gotten that far yet with this season, but there's going to be some people who could come in and at least come in and be the 11th best goalie in the NHL, come in and be the 15th best goalie in the NHL. I think that would go a long way if the Devils had league average goaltending from October to May or April, whenever the season's going to end next year.
Now, do you think that Dawes let's say Mackenzie Blackwood is out of the question. Let's say that relationship is unrepairable and it's gone. Do you think that Dawes is showing signs that he could be a number one? Do you think he could be the next heir apparent?
Yeah, I think he has a chance. Playing, I mean, what did he start the year as? The 4? He had to start the year as the 4, right?
He was the 4, yeah.
4. I mean, and he's what, 20? So if you start the year as the 4, you're 20, and you play okay, slightly better than okay, I would say, based on the circumstances. And then there are times where it's way better than okay. Like early on, he was awesome, and he really helped the Devils win some of these games. They got down 3-0 to the Colorado Avalanche a couple weeks ago, and I still think he was playing awesome. It could have been 6-0. And that allowed the team to fall back after they found their legs. So Nico Dawes, I like Nico Dawes. Do I think at 21 next year, launching him out there and just assuming he's the number one, then you might have another Blackwood on your hands. I probably wouldn't do that.
That's exactly what it's getting to, because like the Blackwood was, I feel like Blackwood, I would give him a second chance just because like he showed that he could be a true number one. Like there was points in Blackwood where you're like, man, this dude, remember like everybody, the Carter Hart Blackwood conversation, like who's better, Carter Hart or Blackwood? And there's people even on, the NHL Network and NHL.com that were saying Blackwood could be easily a top 5 goaltender in the league. Obviously it didn't pan out that way, and injuries and COVID and blah, blah, blah. And there's other kind of elements into that, but I fear, and I hate to say this, but I fear letting him go and letting him walk to somewhere else and becoming, look at what happened to the Flyers, for example, and when they let go of Bobrovsky, like someone like that. And you let go of a good goaltender because you're like, he's not doing well for us, and screw him. He's out the door. And he goes out somewhere else and becomes like a Bobrovsky, or somebody like that. So I fear letting him go. But I agree with you. Dawes has shown signs that he could be the next number one. He could be that next person in line, which is weird because Akira Schmid was supposed to be that person. And every time he got an opportunity in the AHL, he's killing it. But every time he gets an opportunity in NHL, it's like, oof, not as good, which could also be a defensive thing, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. And that's what might make Dawes even more appealing. The fact that he's on this poor defensive team that other goalies have struggled playing for, and he's been okay. That's not easy to do. And you said about Blackwood at top 5 on NHL Network sometimes, blah, blah, blah. It is a confirmed fact that he was on Team Canada's short list of goaltenders to potentially be on Team Canada. I mean, I'm pretty sure we're talking Carey Price, Marc-Andre Fleury, I believe was on the list, oddly enough. And Blackwood was on that list, and I'm sure there's an obvious name that I'm forgetting. But the thought of him was strong early in the year, and I'm with you. Letting him go just because he might be a little weird, and he might like be kind of angry right now. Every goalie's an angry weird guy, aren't they? I'm an angry weird guy, so I certainly don't think that's a reason to just give up on him right now. Bring in as many people as you can, and whoever's stopping the puck the most, and let Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, Jesper Bratt, if these guys all develop the way we know that they can now, this team could be very good soon.
So let me throw a couple names, because we're just, by the way, get used to this kind of thing. Anytime you and I do a show, this is the guys always make fun of me because I have like a hamster brain. I'm all over the place. A couple names I want to throw at you for this offseason that the Devils could try to target. Johnny Gaudreau. Do you think he would fit the mold of this team? I mean, forgetting the side that he's from New Jersey, and he by the way, he was born and raised like a Flyer fan because he's from South Jersey, so it's not like he's like, oh, long-time Devil. Like, no.
Yeah. As far as Johnny Gaudreau, Johnny Hockey, Johnny Ham and Cheese, whatever you want to call him, he's amazing. And I used to think he was going to the Flyers. I used to think that hard.
Like Danny Briere.
Yeah, exactly. But they're trading
Yeah.
Giroux. He's gone. He's a Florida Panther now. There was rumors that they were going to trade Provorov, like one of their younger defensemen who has shown
Yep.
flashes of being awesome. There are guys on their team that are struggling. They're relying on guys like Cam Atkinson to be their leading scorer. Like, it's tough there in Philly right now. They're one of the teams in the East that are worse than the Devils. You don't want to be worse than the Devils in the East right now. So I don't think he's going to go there. Calgary's an option. It'd be funny if he went to a team like Edmonton or Pittsburgh where he could play with a Crosby or a McDavid, or even Colorado could probably afford him on a 3-year deal. But I think the Devils, he would fit there. It's hard for me to say that any Hart Trophy candidate wouldn't fit on the Devils, especially if they're under 30. So that's kind of why I'm in on trying to go for Goudreau this summer, especially because all things considered, you have Hughes and Heischer on discounts. And they're on discounts for the foreseeable future. Nico overpaid, bust, not as good as Makar. Maybe he's not as good as Makar.
Dude,
sure. Makar is a generational defenseman. Go ahead.
No, I was going to just say, I agree with that, dude. Like, Makar is out of this world. Like, Makar is, obviously, if the Devils could redraft, I hate to say it, and I'm one of the biggest Nico fans out there. Yeah, you go Makar all day at the number one spot. He has shown he's a different type of dude. But anyways,
100%. But I was there, and I live in Chicago. I was at the draft where Heischer was taken, so I even have more like love for Heischer than any other Devils draft pick, just because I was there. I saw him drafted. I'm 5 feet from him. It was awesome. The Avalanche would have taken Heischer in that moment. And there's not a single doubt. Like, Cale Makar, he went fourth for a reason. Like, he was good in college, and then he became great in college. Fox was a 3rd overall pick, and he's probably the only defenseman in the NHL. Him and McAvoy. McAvoy went 15th. 14 other teams passed on McAvoy. The Devils were one of them. So I just can't. I can't just say, oh, Makar's better, so Nico. If Nico's an 80-point guy, which he's on pace for 70 this year, people aren't really talking. Well, he's on pace for 70 over 82 games. Over 82 games. He's not going to reach 82 games. He'll probably end in the low 60s as far as points, which will be a career high. He's also only, 22?
That's another thing people forget.
I love Heischer. So, having him at 7.5 discount, Jack Hughes at 8.5, he might be putting up point totals the likes of some of the $12 million players that the NHL, like McKinnon's probably going to get 12, right? He'll break McDavid's record or whatever it is, just because every new guy will break the record as the cap goes up a little bit. Hughes will be on 8.5 for every year starting next year forward. That's a steal. You got Hamilton locked in. Hughes will be on an entry-level deal for 3 years. It's awesome. They're going to lose $9 million of Subban. That could go to hockey, Johnny Hockey. So I would do it. That's my long answer. I don't know if you had a couple extra that I might have taken time from. But.
No, you know what's funny is there's a couple guys that are out there that I would love the Devils to take a run at. He's number one on the list. But if you can imagine the Devils getting, because what drives me crazy about this team is that third line is a black hole. And I hate to say that because, you look at Janssen, I think could be a very special player for this team. But it's just the Zacha, Janssen, even Tatar. Tatar's been heating up a little bit lately. There's certain guys in this team that they have a moment where they flare up and hemorrhoids, they'll just go away with medication. But point being is there's certain guys on the team that they have a moment where they get really good and then they vanish. They completely vanish. And obviously this team cannot rely on, Jesper Bratt and Hughes and Nico Heischer scoring everything every game or putting forth that, offensive pressure during every game. I really truly feel that if Miles Wood was not injured going into the season, because that BMW line is a completely different beast. In all respect to VZ, because I like VZ a lot. I really wanted him when the Rangers got him. I really like VZ, but Miles Wood, he was the engine that drove that line. And you could always tell, when those three were together, I don't know if you remember last year when everything was just a hot pile of garbage. You could always rely on that fourth line to go out there, give you energy. They were going to put up a goal or two like every other game. Mikey McLeod's season, like I might be the biggest Mikey McLeod supporter of any Devils fan. I'm not too excited with where he's at right now. He should be scoring goals. Bastian's doing his thing on the power play. Mikey McLeod isn't even his face-off percentage is going down too. So like what you were great at is no longer what you're great at. You need to start producing. And I think Miles Wood, if he can get into like 10 games at the end of the season, re-energize that line, get them going again for next year. But I don't know if you agree with this. I feel like his absence was another huge reason that this team is where they are right now.
I couldn't agree with you more. Last year, it was their second best line because Heischer was out for almost the whole year. He had his ankle injury that he sustained in Switzerland. And then by the time he got back, he got hit in the face by a Subban slapper, 5 games into being the captain. So, there was not much Heischer last year, not much room for him to grow. That McLeod, Wood, Bastian line was their second best line behind DeHughes, Sharangovich, I think Bratt was the top line last year. So I'm with you. Bring Miles Wood back. Maybe McLeod and Bastian pick up their 5-on-5 production. I love the idea of it. And before we get to predictions, I do want to let everybody know that JCB Architectural is giving away 2 tickets to tomorrow night's game between the New Jersey Devils and the Montreal Canadiens at Prudential Center. Make sure you tune in after tonight's game to Devils After Dark with Scotty of SiriusXM Liquid Metal for your chance to win. Beer Baron, I'd like to hear your predictions for tonight's game.
Woo. Man, I was getting nervous doing these, but I'm going to say it's you always got to go with the good guys. I'm going to say it's a 4-3 game tonight. Close battle, but the Devils come out victorious.
I like that. So whenever the New Jersey Devils play against the Washington Capitals, and let me be very clear, I hope Ovi breaks Gretzky's record. I hope he does it.
Oh, yeah.
I might follow him around when it happens because I thought it was a possibility when he was at 600. I remember telling my brother and my uncle's like, he's going to break Gretzky's record easily if he stays healthy. And not even a pandemic would slow him down. He's about 50 goals behind where I thought he would be, on March 26, 2022. So, maybe he gets one tonight. It's more than likely because he always scores against the Devils. I'm going to say he gets one, but the Devils still win by a final score of 5-3. I'm kind of in the same area as you, but maybe they hit the empty netter there.
There you go. All right,
absolutely,
man. Well,
so this was a great show. I really enjoyed having you on as our fill-in for Sam Wu.
Hey, nobody can fill in for Sam. You know that. The E-Bug.
E-Bub.
There he is.
Yeah,
Emergency backup broadcaster.
Yep, there you go. I love that, actually. And I also love you popping in when I can't see you. That also makes me extremely happy. So we appreciate everybody for watching on all the platforms that you're able to watch the game day live from via the Let's Go Devils podcast. Beer Baron, is there anything you got to get off your chest before we head into the night game tonight?
Dude, it's an absolute pleasure to do a show with you. I'm looking forward to a good game tonight. And as always, man, let's go Devils.
Absolutely. And we just want to remind everybody one more time that after the game, you make sure you listen to Devils podcast, Devils After Dark, for your chance to win 2 tickets to tomorrow night's game between the New Jersey Devils and the Montreal Canadiens, courtesy of JCB Architectural. And as always, let's go Devils.